I was recently having a conversation with my friends, and I believe that men tend to give a lot of importance to how pretty a girl is. But once you start dating them, you soon get used to it and the looks do not make any difference. A few of my friends did not seem to agree and said that although character matters more, looks make a huge difference. So, as the title says, men who have been with girls considered conventionally attractive, how much did it actually matter over time? Just to clarify, I understand the importance of finding your partner attractive. The question is whether it makes a difference to go much beyond that and be with someone more attractive than average, because I have seen many guys trying for that and getting respected by other people just because they have extremely pretty partners. Story 1. I'm married. One of the things you commit to when you get married is that, all things being equal, you are going to grow old together. Part of aging is that you age, and that means your body changes. Even if you do everything right, you get older. Your looks, as you define them in your teens, 20s, and 30s, change. You can exercise as much as you want, eat as perfectly as possible, use every cream and procedure available, and you will still age. I say this because even though my wife does not look like she did when she was 25, and I certainly do not either, I still find her attractive, and she finds me attractive. As you mature physically, you mature mentally, and part of mental maturity is realizing that looks come and go, but the person is always there. Yes, there are obviously extreme cases involving dramatic lifestyle changes that people willfully make, which change the physical dynamics of a relationship in ways that may not be sustainable long-term. However, these cases are not common. Story 2. If you cannot stand them, who cares what they look like? At the end of the day, it is about personal connection. Story 3. You have to be attracted to them. Otherwise, there is no point. Beyond that, it honestly does not matter that much. Story 4. You know how after a few drinks you get beer goggles. Love works the same way. If you are with someone you love, as you both get older, the thinning skin, the wrinkles, the gray hair, the fluctuating weight, the scars, the stretch marks, the menopausal mood swings that make premenstrual syndrome seem like a walk in the park. None of it matters. Your wife will still be the most beautiful woman in the world. What does matter is her personality. If she does not make you smile and laugh, then you will really struggle. If she does, you are going to have a relationship on easy mode. My 28th anniversary is this year. Story 5. It matters a great deal. Of course, her personality and everything else are just as important, if not more important. You cannot have a relationship without that. But I love how attracted I am to her. I love that I can look at my girlfriend of 8 years and still feel a growing primal hunger for her. Story 6. Everyone says personality is what matters long-term. That is true, but I dated a girl who was drop-dead gorgeous and looked identical to Natalie Portman. All her social media comments would say the same thing. It made a big difference. She would be sitting on the couch reading or minding her business, and I would look at her face and just melt. It would spur me to give her a forehead kiss and hug her tight. She had a wonderful personality, but her incredible looks took the love to the next level. Story 7. Physical attraction is important in romantic relationships, regardless of personality. Being attracted to your partner is always a significant positive factor. Story 8. It doesn't matter how attractive she is, if she does not enthusiastically participate in intimate activities. Story 9. It's different. Men will approach. Men have tried to sit down to dinner with us. When I went to the bathroom, I came back to men talking to her. It was funny and flattering. It certainly helps you realize some people have a different life experience. Story 10. Regarding your edit, 1. Go much beyond that? Strange way to view it. It is not a contest. You want to find a life partner. At the end of the day, being, in my humble opinion, sexually attracted versus their attractiveness, which I do not consider the same thing, is one of the important elements, as you need a sexual spark to sustain you for decades. Guys trying to get respected by other people. Yeah, do not do that. Again, you are not being graded here. What matters is that this is a person you want long-term. Example. I dated one woman. Absolutely gorgeous, smart, with a large chest. My friends were congratulating me all over the place. However, our personalities really were not compatible, and despite having bombshell attractiveness, she was actually pretty terrible in bed and sexually overall. She just did not like it and was not good at it. A top-tier example of how a body that screams sex does not mean the personality occupying the body can or wants to deliver on the promise. I moved on pretty quickly. Look at it this way, attractiveness is important. It is evolution's invitation to get to know more about someone and go deeper, but little more than that. Some relationship thoughts overall, in addition to having a sexual bond and spark that will survive time. First, above all else, make sure you truly love and admire the woman. It is very important that you discuss and are in sync more or less on the following topics before you get engaged. 1. Children, and if she is not getting pregnant, both of your feelings about adoption, surrogacy, etc. 2. Religion. 3. Politics. 4. Financial goals. Do not buy a ring before these are discussed to satisfaction. Beauty fades, stupidity is forever. It is important you can make each other laugh. It is important you can cheer each other up. You have to find being around her family tolerable, and they have to tolerate you, both at minimum. You are not just marrying her, you are marrying her family. Imagine some big, terrible crises. You are diagnosed with cancer, you lose your job or have a financial disaster, you become disabled, your child becomes sick. Is your partner the personality you want fighting out those crises in the trenches with you? Would you fight for them? It is important the answers to both of those be yes. If you have significant cash or a business before the engagement, get a prenuptial agreement. If you do not have significant resources, then do not bother. If you split, she probably deserves half anyway if you find success later on. This is what I have told my children are minimums to get married. There are lots of other factors, but these essentials have to be there. If the answers to any of these are negative, you have to reconsider a long-term relationship. Story 11. When the chips are down and you are arguing or frustrated, a man will hold on to a beautiful wife longer than he will to one who has mediocre looks. My ex was very attractive, and that definitely helped carry us through some tough times. Story 12. There was a study where men were asked to rank the first 5 qualities they want in a wife. One was that they find her attractive, and another was that other men find her attractive. Women are like cars to men. Men want something to show off to their male friends. Men care far more about male validation than anything else. Story 13. Looks fade and sex drives ebb and flow. Cooking skills only improve with age. That should sufficiently convey my opinion on the matter. Story 14. I used to be married to a Chargers cheerleader. I left her on our 2nd anniversary. She was a blast at parties and in bed, but absolutely awful to be around the rest of the time. Now, my wife is pretty, but not a cheerleader. She is also an awesome person who makes me feel much more attracted to her than anyone has before. Take that for what it is worth. Story 15. Being attracted to your partner is a huge deal. I truly believe that you cannot have a healthy relationship if you do not find them attractive. Story 16. Why is it that women have to be pretty or attractive, yet men can look unpleasant? I see this all the time around me in a tourist town with many out-of-state visitors. It is rare to see an attractive man with an average woman. Story 17. Was married to a former model. You get used to the appearance of someone. You might still recognize that they are beautiful, but it might not trigger that spark. Story 18. Her looks will not matter after a while. I am talking less than 2 years. That novelty wore off years ago anyway. Try dating women for their personality, and you will come to love their appearance through love. I wish I had known that years ago. It would have saved me a lot of pain and time. Story 19. My wife looks attractive to me. Everything else matters too. However, I do not think looks are important in the long run. Need evidence? Why can't all these beautiful models and celebrities keep a man? If looks kept men, then they should be able to keep their man. Story 20. I once had a girlfriend who nearly every guy in a very small part of town was attracted to, but she only liked me. At the time, I thought I was very lucky to have such a beautiful girl who only liked me. After 10 months of being in a relationship, I realized how unpleasant she was as a person. It was a very abusive relationship. She physically, mentally, and emotionally abused me daily. She eventually left me, and when I saw her last year to get my stuff back, She basically made fun of my trauma the whole time and called me a loser because of the job I was working. Ironically, 5 months ago, she was hired at my current job, and she is not nearly as attractive as she once was. The moral of this story is that she can be drop-dead gorgeous, but if she is an awful human being, it does not matter. For reference, my first girlfriend was not considered very attractive by many people. I disagreed, of course. But as a person, she was 100 times the woman that one could ever hope to be. Story 21. My wife was always very attractive and way out of my league, but she was also a total nerd. She kept her figure after our children and never really had to do anything. She would lose baby weight immediately, it seemed. She recently gained about 40 pounds and asked me how she looked. Never used the phrase, "I would love you no matter how much weight you gain." Story 22. Her looks attracted me initially. Her personality kept me. I have had the pleasure of enjoying both for more than 4 decades. She does not physically look the same as when we met. Neither do I, but I find her to be an attractive woman. So yes, I still enjoy having an attractive wife. The thing is, she will likely always be attractive to me regardless of age. Story 23. Looks matter at first, no doubt they grab your attention. But over time, it is who she is that really counts. If there is no connection or peace, the looks fade into the background. Story 24. My husband is extremely good-looking. We have been together for 8 years, and I still cannot unsee it. Even when we fight, my brain tells me to be quiet and make up instead. Story 25. Looks are easy to overlook when it comes to early warning signs or issues, but once that veil is lifted, you need to decide whether they add to your life or drain it. Looks do not matter at that point. Figure that out before you move in together, especially how finances will work. Story 26. Personality is much more important than good looks. You are looking for a partner who will love you, support you, and take care of you. Story 27. Looks fade. If you want a genuine, happy relationship, you need to love their personality and character. This is not to say you should be with someone you find unattractive, but looks are not the most important thing. Story 28. I was married to a beautiful woman for 7 years. Half German, half Cherokee. She was 5 feet 10 inches tall. She wore her hair short, which really went well with her high cheekbones. She looked like a taller, slightly fuller, a bit prettier Morena Baccarin. I got divorced. Then I dated an average to below average looking woman for a long time. Here are the differences. People treat beautiful people better just in general. Even though I am average looking, when I had a very attractive wife, we as a couple were treated better. We received more invitations to events and favors were done for us. I benefited individually as well. I was treated better at work. People who knew us both were nicer to me even when she was not around. I guess I was the guy who could have a gorgeous wife, so that boosted my esteem in others' eyes somehow. On top of that, it was a big self-esteem boost as well. I was more confident. I felt better about myself. I had achieved something that most men only aspire to. Story 29. Let me tell you something. They all start out young, fit, and gorgeous. Very few remain so. My best advice is to find a friend. My wife is my best friend. Story 30. My wife was a high school cheerleader and won beauty contests in college. We have been married over 30 years now. We have both gained weight and have wrinkles. She has had 2 surgeries. One, a cesarean section that gave us our son, and another for a thankfully benign tumor. When I look at her, I still see the young, beautiful woman she was when we met because that is how she is on the inside as well. She has been a big sister in the Big Brothers Big Sisters program for decades. She raised over $1 million for the animal shelter in our previous town. She organized fundraisers for the museum and book donation programs. She cares about me, our son, her friends, and other people. That is how her beauty remains, regardless of how she has aged. Story 31. I have dated very attractive women and women who are not. You do get used to how attractive a woman is, but every now and then they surprise you for a night out and look stunning. It is somewhat the same with less attractive women, but in the opposite way, where some days I might look at them and feel completely uninterested. Connection is the most important, but having a woman who is also attractive is essential to me. Story 32. If they are conventionally attractive, you will usually experience a consistent annoyance of her always having men hit on and try to pursue her, sometimes even if you are right there with her. Whether or not she reciprocates or entertains them, it eventually becomes tiring to deal with. On a personal level, it matters less as you get older because you learn to value personality much more, but it still feels good to be with an attractive woman. Story 33. Looks do not matter because if she loses respect for you, the looks go away. If you think someone is unattractive now, things are about to get a lot uglier. Story 34. Married men are more likely to leave their wives when the wives become ill or have cancer, compared to when men themselves are sick. Marriages are about 7 times more likely to end when the wife becomes ill than when the husband does. Story 35. Ultimately, it always comes down to personal chemistry. Being attractive does not create personal chemistry, but personal chemistry enhances how you perceive someone. Story 36. Every cute girl has at least one guy in her life who is absolutely tired of her nonsense. It matters less as you get older. Story 37. My girlfriend and I met in our 40s, and I have always thought she is just about the most attractive person. What helps is that I am in love with her personality and the tremendous heart she has. That combination is breathtaking to me. I adore her, and one of the ways I show my appreciation is by simply beholding how devastatingly beautiful I find her. It is my birthday today, and just as she has been for the last 9 birthdays, she is the best gift I have received this year. Story 38. I've been with my fiancée for almost 4 years. I just proposed a month ago. We have always had a good relationship. I always thought she was cute and attractive. She was pretty skinny when we first met, about 5 feet 5 inches tall and 110 to 120 pounds. Over the past couple of years, she has gained about 30 pounds, and I think she is more attractive than ever. We went through a rough spot earlier this year, and when we got through it, I fell even harder for her. I don't think she is stereotypically or socially perfect, but in my eyes, she couldn't compare to anyone else. Love has a funny way of making you see things differently. Find someone who makes you happy and to whom you are attracted, and let time run its course. You'll know what's right. Story 39. I have been with my wife for 20 years. She is conventionally beautiful and very attractive. She always has been. It still matters a lot to me, and I continue to find her extremely attractive. What does not matter at all is what anyone else thinks. I do not care. Story 40. It completely matters. You need to be sexually attracted to your sexual partner. Full stop. Maybe if you are both already 80 years old, you can discount looks. But if you are not attracted to your partner, you will be miserable and disappointed for most of your adult life or until you cheat or divorce. Story 41. Many of the girls I thought were attractive in my 20s do not look the same now. Some age well, but you might not know how that works. The top priority is to find someone who is responsible and easy to live with. Another way to think about it is when you shop for something based on looks alone, like a gaming computer. You might find one with flashy lights and elaborate designs, but it is probably not the best option. The best one may look plain but is made of quality parts and will last much longer. This is not to say you cannot find ones that have both qualities, but the first thing to focus on is the quality of the internal components, not the exterior appearance. Story 42. It matters much more in the beginning, for sure. The deeper the connection, the less appearance matters, but attraction will always remain important, and looks are a big component of that. Would you rather get used to green rolling hills and open land with some mountains in the background or a landfill site? Story 43. Physical attraction is what initially draws us to women, but personality is what gives the relationship longevity. Story 44. I remember I was in Atlantic City with a knockout-looking girlfriend. We were walking in the casino when she went to the bathroom. A guy next to me said, "Wow, it must be great to have such a good-looking woman." I said, "No, not really." He commented something like, "For every gorgeous woman, there is a guy who is tired of sleeping with her." I said, "Not really, because I had enough of her and was thinking of breaking up with her." And I did a few weeks later. My wife is very pretty, not as much as that girl, but she is 10 times better because I get along with her. Story 45. I believe the late great Jimmy Soul covered this pretty succinctly back in 1963. Story 46. Appearance matters if you are going to be regularly sexually intimate with your partner. It is even more important for men in heterosexual relationships because they are doing most of the engagement and need to be excited about it. If it feels like then it becomes a chore and a lot of work. Men have to move a lot and maintain blood flow in specific areas. There is a lot involved. Women can often relax, close their eyes, and do not have to be too visually focused, just concentrate on the sensation. It is more difficult for a man actively involved, which is why sexual attraction is so important. Sex is, of course, only one small aspect of most relationships. Maybe you have sex for an hour every day, speaking optimistically, not just in the beginning when you are active, but years later. The rest of the time when you are not having sex, unless you are living independent lives, you are going to be around and with that person. Their personality becomes very important then. If you are fine with a sexless or low-sex relationship, then you can definitely place less emphasis on attraction. The majority of your time will be with the person when you are not having sex across your life, but if sex is important to you, then attraction is a significant factor you cannot just ignore. Story 47. I was with a girl I thought was a complete bombshell and still do. After a couple of months, I hated being in the same house as her. She was not a nice person. Story 48. Tommy Lee said in an interview, "No matter how attractive she is, there is someone out there tired of being with her and dealing with her problems. Do not shoot the messenger." Story 49. If you have chemistry in terms of personality, interests, instincts, a physical 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 will become a 10 or even a 12. If you do not have the above, a physical 10 will not remain a 10 after you have been intimate for a while. The attraction will not be a 10 to begin with. A lot of it is mental after all. If you have mental chemistry but physical attraction is lacking on either side, save yourself some time and just be friends. Story 50. Intelligence, character, sense of humor, worldview, interests, empathy, self-awareness, and attractiveness are variables. Mismatches at age 20 can lead to divorces at age 22. Emotional maturity is revealed by dating preferences. But when you are old and sick in bed with a fever, who will get your cold drink or bowl of soup? Story 51. My wife is very attractive, and I love her for it. But that is definitely not what keeps us together. Her intense love for me and our family is what keeps us together. As we grow older and her appearance changes, I still feel like I am with my person. Sometimes, I look at her or notice how others look at her when she walks into a room, and I know I did well for myself. Story 52. Looks help a lot in day-to-day attraction. When she walks into the room, do you want to take a moment to take her in? When she leaves, do you want to steal a glance at her? Do you want to feel under her shirt while she is busy doing dishes? It is not the centerfold that you are always going to drop your jaw over, it is the way she simply exists. Story 53. I know that logically, after 15 years together, my wife cannot possibly be as attractive as she was when she was younger. The problem is, I am more infatuated with her than ever. I look at old photos and think, my goodness, she was stunning. I looked over at her earlier today and thought, my goodness, she is even more stunning. Her appearance may have changed, but I honestly find her evolution exciting. I do not want some perfect, never-aging doll. How dull that would be. Story 54. My wife is girl next door pretty. She had gained weight but has lost over 60 pounds since last year and is returning to that look. Her weight fluctuation never really mattered to me except for the health aspect. I understand why people say that beauty is in the eye of the beholder because what I find attractive does not necessarily mean others do. My wife is tattooed with an attitude like a Bronx girl. I love my foul-mouthed, tattooed wife who can hit like a ton of bricks. Other men may not like that. My point is, it does not matter as long as you like what you see. I prefer to die by affectionate intimacy. Others do not. Your mileage may vary. Story 55. Find a girl who was chubby when she was younger but has a great body now. My girlfriend is still humble and sweet because she was never overly praised for her looks, and now she is always one of the prettiest people wherever we go. Story 56. In the beginning, she has to be attractive enough to catch my interest. There's no exception to that. Long term, I expect her to maintain her looks in direct proportion to how I maintain mine. If I am neglecting hygiene and gain 200 pounds eating pizza and drinking beer, I cannot expect her to be a supermodel. But if I am hitting the gym regularly, paying attention to my grooming, and staying reasonably fashionable, then I think it is appropriate to expect similar maintenance from her. Note, I did not say similar effort. Men have an easier time of it, especially once children are involved, and I recognize that. I do not expect her to spend all her time in the gym or doing her makeup, but when we go out in public, we should look like we belong together. If that requires more work on her part, that is what it takes. We are both going to age, and we will both experience changes to our bodies. I just expect that we will do that together, not that one of us will give up and fall apart. Story 57. I would say finding someone attractive is very important. Anything beyond that probably does not matter. Also, I think you find someone more attractive if you love their personality as well. A very nice and kind average-looking woman is likely to be very attractive and arouse strong desire. Story 58. Minimal over time. More about aligned values and connection. Of course, you have seen many very attractive celebrities divorce very quickly. However, if someone is unattractive or very overweight due to discipline and habits, that may be a real issue over time since you are not aligned on what is important. It is not a deal breaker, but it may lead to issues down the road if you do not share the same views on health and lifestyle. Story 59. No matter how attractive someone is, there is always someone who is tired of their behavior. Story 60. Attraction is important. Connection, personality, and compatibility are also important. The significance of each varies depending on the individual. Story 61. It does not. Once I am in the relationship, they are among the most attractive things on earth. I will not play games where I have to worry about another man swooping in, so I never have to deal with any jealousy issues. Story 62. I'm reminded of a quote from former professional golfer Lee Trevino. While being interviewed, a very attractive woman walked by and captured the male gaze in the area. After she walked away, Trevino turned to the person interviewing him and said, "Yeah, somebody somewhere is sick of that. No matter how physically beautiful a woman is, in the end, it doesn't matter if you don't get along or have common interests to build on. Are looks important? Absolutely. Are they everything? No." Story 63. Everyone has their own baseline standard for attractiveness. I wouldn't consider dating someone who didn't meet that standard in the first place, no matter how nice they are. Granted, many people have to settle for a lower standard than they would prefer because they lack the qualities to attract a more attractive person, whether it be appearance, personality, or financial success. Those individuals often settle and tend to place a higher value on personality as a result. Story 64. It depends from person to person. My wife is extremely attractive. When we met, she could have been Barbara Eden's twin. She is laid back, fun, and kind. We have been together for 28 years. She is still attractive, and it is nice to be out with a woman who can still turn some heads. Her fun, kindness, and laid-back nature are the real qualities. Attractiveness is a bonus. Story 65. If you truly like someone and enjoy spending time with them, then you have won the lottery. If you are marrying purely for looks, you will have a miserable existence. Story 66. She can be the most beautiful woman in the world, but if she is mentally unstable or unpleasant, the appearance does not matter for long. Story 67. Before I say anything else, I am often not all that attracted to the textbook super skinny model. What I find attractive, some guys would not. That said, it is tough to be with someone you are not physically attracted to. I have dated ladies I really liked and were great friends, but I just could not make it work. I did try once, but without that spark from physical attraction, friendship was the best I could do. Story 68. Having a partner who is very attractive can sometimes cause problems. It is easy for them to meet other people. Depending on how assertive men are in your country, this could be an issue. Story 69. Opposite. The more I date her, the prettier she seems, although I think this supports your main point that it does not matter. My previous ex was not very pretty, but while we were together, she seemed like a 9. I would be curious to know if you are a man or a woman. I have heard that it is common for women to stop finding their men attractive after a while. Story 70. It helps my mental well-being a lot that I love her and find her face attractive. But I would still love her even if her face was mauled by a bear. I try not to think about things like that because I don't need that type of hypothetical negativity in my life. From a health perspective, we could both lose a lot of weight, but it is a difficult and long process. I really don't care how she looks. As long as she is happy and loves me back, that is enough for me. Story 71. I have always been lucky with women. My wife is one of those rare women who aged well. She has a cheerful disposition, which is a joy to be around. Story 72. For me, physical attraction is a prerequisite for chemistry. I love my wife. I am excited that she is attractive. We go through tough times like anyone raising a family together. The fact that we are attracted to each other helps ease the ups and downs. Story 73. It definitely makes a difference to be attracted to the woman you are with. Physical attraction is one of many requirements for a good relationship. I made the mistake when I was younger of dating girls I liked as people but was not really attracted to. They should have remained friends. So yes, it matters a lot that I find my partners attractive. With that said, that is not the only thing. Character is also important. You have to like them as people and want to be close to them. Story 74. In my opinion, my wife is stunning. However, she has always been more than that, and I love her little traits and mannerisms just as much as I love her. The face she makes when she is confused, her smile, her laugh. I love that she looks beautiful, but I love even more that she is beautiful in many other ways too. So, to answer your question, it does not really matter overall. Story 75. I have 2 categories: technically attractive and actually attractive. Technically attractive means she has physical attributes that are aesthetically pleasing. This is not the same as actually attractive. Actually attractive describes someone with a warm heart, a sense of adventure, who accepts you for who you are and supports you when challenges arise. If she happens to be stunning as well, that is merely a bonus. If you have that kind of relationship and she looks like a movie star, you would simply think, look if you want, but she loves me. My partner and I have our quirks, and neither of us is put off by them. I do find her attractive, and her quirkiness is definitely lovable. Story 76. I knew looks did not matter once I went to a strip club and saw the most beautiful women in the world. I realized that they could attract any rich man, but some of them just had bad energy. Looks are unimportant. Story 77. I am well aware my wife is attractive. Even my mom said, I love you and I'd trade my life to save yours. But how did you pull that one off? Don't get me wrong, being attracted to someone is part of the reason you ask someone out. So don't take this as me saying looks don't matter. Romantic partners have sexual attraction. But after a decade, many other things become equally important. Of course, we are in our mid-30s and still look good in our bathing suits, but eventually we will be 70, and that won't be the case. Being bonded to someone beyond physical attraction is a good feeling. Story 78. These kinds of questions are silly. Most men are attracted to their partners and would consider them hot or pretty, even when many others would not. Story 79. I've only ever dated women I consider good-looking. I feel it would be disappointing to settle for someone who doesn't spark that kind of desire. Arousal, lust, or whatever you want to call it, it's fun. I've had a girlfriend gain weight while we were dating, and that's not why we broke up. It was definitely a bummer to lose that. I'm sure over a long enough time, as you grow together and both at least eat well and stay in shape, aging itself isn't an issue since you theoretically love this person. Story 80. You know what a relationship without physical attraction is? Friendship. Are you saying you want an unattractive boyfriend? Would you? I have dated women who were genuinely perfect and could stop traffic because I have seen them do it. They had other women openly walk up and ask who their surgeons were and would go through the 5 stages of grief when they found out they were all natural. I ended a relationship with one for being a selfish person and would have married another, but she passed away. Why? Because she was an amazing person who understood me. The friendship part mattered, along with her wickedly dark sense of humor. In summary, it matters. Don't kid yourself. But true ugliness on the inside is an instant attraction killer. Seriously, swap the genders, replace attractiveness with money, and read it out loud. Story 81. Looks get your attention and personally keep your attention. Get someone who will do both. I met my wife more than 21 years ago, and I am still absolutely smitten and attracted to her in every possible way. Probably borderline obsessed in a good way, I swear, with her. She is still sexy as hell, and I adore the person she is and the person she helped me become. Story 82. Luckily for me, I will not have to worry about this for a while. My wife is very pretty. I also find her about 10 times more attractive now than I did when we first started dating. Knowing that I know her better than anyone, I get to see and understand things about her that no one else does. Some of them are sexy things, silly things like laughing together until we fart, and all kinds of intimate, emotional things. To be honest, I do not think I could ever stop finding her attractive. Story 83. I've dated models and other beautiful kinds of women. Most of them were troubled by looks in a bizarre, personality-destroying way. I looked for a woman who was thoughtful, intentional, and open-hearted to love. That is how I decided she was going to be my partner. Story 84. Usually, beauty means good genetics, which are not limited only to physical appearance but also include intelligence. Story 85. It is almost worse because sometimes you get the feeling that they do things with privilege because everyone told them they deserve it based on appearance alone. Story 86. It is easier to maintain interest in the bedroom. Attraction may decrease for some, but it declines significantly more when there was little initial attraction. Story 87. It certainly helps when you look at them and think, damn, in a good way. It's a bonus if other people think so too, but only to a point. After being with women who made other women say, damn, act jealous, or had men linger longer, you realize it does matter. You become alert to how entranced people get around beautiful individuals. It's not too hard to handle, you get used to it. You just have to stay on your toes socially. You feel there's a higher chance than usual that someone might act strangely, and you'll have to deal with it. But when you go home, all that matters is that you think, damn. People say their longtime partners become more beautiful to them as they age, and in my case, this has been true. I think that matters too in a different and pleasant way. Story 88. Never been with one, so this question is not for me, but most of the men I know care very little for a woman's attractiveness when it comes to serious and committed relationships. I have met some men who think it is very important, but I also do not think highly of their character for other reasons. Story 89. My wife's looks were what first got my attention, but it was her personality that made me interested in marrying her. She is very sweet, kind, caring, and we have many shared interests. She is easy to talk to, and I also don't feel uncomfortable being quiet around her. I don't feel as though I have to entertain her. Having been married almost 7 years and together for 9, I love her more and more. I would say she is conventionally attractive. I think most people would look at her and think she is good looking. I find her extremely pretty, and I have yet to stop marveling over how pretty and attractive I find her. The answer to your question is complicated. I would not have stayed with my wife just for her looks, but I also would not have gotten together with her if I didn't find her attractive. I have found her to be more and more attractive as the years pass. It definitely helps keep the physical aspect of our relationship alive. However, I don't know how much of that growing attraction is due to my love for her or just that she is very beautiful. All I know is that I love everything about her and wouldn't change a thing, even the things that have caused us to clash sometimes. Regarding your clarification, this wasn't my primary motive, but many of my male friends go out of their way to note how my wife is way better looking than me. It gets kind of annoying after a while. I get it. I am not super good looking. There's nothing I can do about it. Story 90. makes a huge difference, but few actually have the experience, so you will not get many first-hand experiences. Story 91. My wife is conventionally attractive. She modeled most of her life, and I do not mean posting photos on social media. I have never met a person who did not find her attractive. Over time, it does not really matter. If all she had was her looks, I would have left a long time ago. It is who she is as a person that made me fall in love with her and stay with her for over a decade. Now, obviously, if I did not find her attractive at all, there would not have been a relationship, but looks are not what make a relationship last. Story 92. It matters as long as you two have a real connection. If you have shared values and interests, then her beauty only makes life better for you. Being with a woman who turns heads is a good feeling even 20 years later. Story 93. If she keeps her body in shape, it will always attract you. Her face will be pretty, but her body is what will maintain your desire for her. Story 94. I've been married to my wife for over 2 decades. I still look at her sometimes and am stunned by her beauty. It matters to me. She is an awesome person, very kind and loving. If she were not kind and loving, I highly doubt I would be struck by her beauty because I would probably just see the ugliness on the inside. Story 95. Looks are definitely not the most important thing in a long-term relationship. The looks get the initial interest, but character is what makes a relationship last. A man can prioritize solely looks for a hookup or casual dating, but he should avoid that if he is looking for something long-term. That being said, both parties should make a good faith effort to stay attractive to each other. When you ask someone to have sex only with you for the rest of their life, you are obligated to make a good faith effort to meet that need, which means doing the work to stay attractive. Story 96. My girlfriend is very attractive. In fact, she is easily the most attractive partner I have ever had. She is also an amazing person, and we are a great match. I will be completely honest and say that if she were not attractive, we would still be best friends. However, since she is very attractive and will no doubt remain so as she ages, she is definitely the one. Story 97. I think it matters a lot, but only what you think. I always thought my wife was pretty, but I knew she was not the most attractive. It did not matter. I still really liked her. She was a great friend and had a wonderful personality. The important thing is that she has aged extremely well and has now surpassed many others. At least I think so. I find her more attractive almost 30 years after meeting her than I ever did at first. Story 98. It's pretty important to me. My wife lights up a room when she walks into it, and then she usually walks right over to me, and that feels great. That's not entirely about how she looks, but it's a big part of it. There is a status component to it, for sure, and I don't run from that. Having an attractive wife gets me respect and admiration, just as having a tall, fit, kind husband gets her a similar kind of status. It's nice. I don't think it matters tremendously for me as far as sex goes. Now that the initial flush of uncontainable attraction of the first few years is gone, what makes me want to have sex with my wife is when she is being nice to me and we are getting along and having fun together. When that is not happening, while I still can see how attractive she is, my sex drive is overridden by my annoyance and resentment. I don't think that her being even more attractive would really change that. I need her to be nice and for us to have fun, because we have had sex literally thousands of times at this point and it is not novel the way it is with a new person. I also don't think that her being somewhat less attractive would really change it either. If she was nice to me and we were having a great time, I would still be very attracted to her. Of course, if I found her hideous, that would kill it, but at current margins, I don't think it is much of a factor. Story 99. There are many attractive women in the world, but they do not all bring you lasagna at work. Most of them just cheat on you. Silent Bob, philosopher. Story 100. Physical attraction matters a lot, and it is a sliding scale. A very attractive partner is something many people strive for, and there is nothing wrong with that as long as they have a personality to match. My ex looked like a lingerie model, but we made each other miserable, so it did not work out. However, I very much enjoyed her looks. Story 101. I once dated a girl who I really liked as a person but just wasn't physically attracted to. In the end, the lack of physical interest on my side was not the deal breaker, but it significantly contributed to the issues we had. I have dated my current girlfriend for 3.5 years, and every time she puts on my favorite outfit, I can't help but drop everything and practically chase her around the house. Looks are not the most important thing, not by a long shot. They are like fourth or fifth on the list at best. But the attraction does not necessarily go away. Story 102. If you do not like how a woman looks, do not have children because they will resemble her as well. Yes, looks do fade, but not all if you stay in shape. Having an attractive wife makes you feel young. Story 103. There is definitely a big danger in waiting through your 20s and 30s until you finally date a very attractive woman who seems out of your league. You may end up delaying marriage and family, and ultimately you risk marrying someone mostly for their appearance. It is not worth the social status. If you can find a woman you genuinely feel attracted to and have a real connection with, that is all that matters. Story 104. It is honestly pretty great. We have been married for 15 years and did not meet until our mid-30s, but she is still attractive, which makes it even better. Story 105. It matters superficially in my experience. You walk in public with an attractive girl on your arm, and people will look, even turn heads, but they look at her, not you. In terms of social advantages, I do not believe I received much, if any at all. Having said that, having an attractive girl makes you not compare in my opinion. Yes, I may be immature, but I am just stating the truth. Story 106. I've been married for 33 years, and from the beginning, I decided that a common purpose, spirituality, was most important. Second was personality, and only after that, looks. Yes, she is attractive, but long-term attractiveness is determined by discipline, which in turn is determined by deeper purpose. 33 years later, I believe my wife is more attractive than other women our age. Story 107. There are other things that become important in a relationship besides looks. However, in the long run, I would still prefer her to be attractive rather than unattractive. Story 108. I've dated or been in long-term relationships or married to women who varied widely. One was literally an international model. We would be stopped by random guys on the street telling me how lucky I was to be with her. Several were more typical. One was not conventionally attractive. I would say it not only doesn't matter in the long run but can be misleading and get you into situations you would be better off avoiding. First, if you value looks, eventually the thrill reduces, and she is almost certain to lose looks over time. If you have been valuing looks to offset other aspects, she will lose them, but the other aspects still remain. At this point, I am 100% in the focus on personality camp, as long as you still feel attraction to her. Do not treat being gorgeous as having extra value. Story 109. Looks fade. It is part of life. I am reminded of the old joke that goes, for every beautiful woman out there, there is a man who is completely tired of her behavior. As they age, some women have a tough time coming to terms with this because they have always relied on being attractive. My advice is to find a strong partner who shares your interests, and they will appreciate you. Plus, a strong partner is much better in bed than someone who is passive. Story 110. Physical beauty does not make up for being a bad person. Find someone you connect with who is kind, and you will lead a long and happy life together. Story 111. When I was 14, all I cared about was appearance. Back then, looks were important. As an adult, having a perfectly symmetrical face is low on my list of important characteristics in a partner. Story 112. I actually get annoyed quietly when people remark to me how pretty my wife is. That is such a basic observation in the much bigger picture of who she is. Story 113. I do not know. We have been together for 13 years. She is attractive, but what matters more is how she treats me, how she treats others, and how often and enthusiastically she shows affection. She is a great woman. That is what matters most. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.